Fed up of floor robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host, Heather Tingle. Today's episode is going to be a very short one, but I think it is really important as this subject does come up frequently with my one-to-one clients. And I'm talking about it today due to an experience that happened with me with a client today, one-to-one, but also we had a really great question that was asked in our Facebook community recently. So what I want to talk about today is that once you've made a decision to let something go, we also have a tendency to overthink it, which paralyzes us from truly letting something go and getting it to its destination. I think it is really important, and I do this with all my clients, that we let items go in a way that we choose the best exit plan out of all the possible options available to us. It's got to be right for the item, it's got to be right for our circumstances and right for our hearts, really. We want this to go to the right place, but also in a way that's easy for us to make everybody happy. In doing so, though, we also tend to worry about what happens to our items once they have left us. Now, let me explain that in a little more detail so that it makes a bit more sense. So one of the things we worry about is whether or not if we send something to charity that it will be sold. It may be that we're concerned about whether something is in date enough to be sold or whether something is good enough to be sold. And that tends to hold us back because we're not mind readers, we don't know the answers. So different charities will have different thresholds of items that they will accept. So I've been to one charity shop with a bag of really good stuff and they've rummaged through it and basically sneered and went, no, we don't really want any of that. And I've taken it to another charity shop, which I am very lucky near me. I have a bunch of charities that when I ask, will you accept this? They say, sure, just bring it. They're happy to have stuff. Now, until you know your charities a little bit better, the answer to this is relatively simple. You can take that item in, or you can call and you can ask them, is this something that you would want? Now, I'm saying that is simple, but in Heather world, nothing like that is simple because that actually might be a very difficult, anxiety-inducing question to ask, and you may not feel comfortable asking it. You might not want the rejection of them going, no. And that's okay. So what I'm going to say to you is, provided something is clean, provided it is not broken, and provided that you would give it to a friend, you can give it to charity. Now, the caveat of that is, if it's an electrical item, you do need to make sure that that charity will accept electrical items. The same with things like books. Not all charities will accept books right now. You will get to know what your individual charities local to you will accept. And then once you take something to them, you can feel that you know that it is okay. We still worry about whether or not something's good enough, whether or not it will be sold, what will then happen. You can maximise its chances of being sold by being really mindful over what you send to charity to ensure you're not just sending them rubbish for them to pay to dispose of. Now, that can be quite hard to do because we can be skewed by our own emotions to the items. And it is really important to know that charities have their own procedures and policy in place for them to reuse or recycle or find other exit plans for your items that don't make it to like the retail shop. If you are not sure about something, whether it is charity shoppable or not, then you can ask me. You can send me a message. You can come into the community, the Facebook community, and ask in there. Or you can ask a trusted friend to tell you the truth when you say, is this charity shoppable or not? And hopefully you'll get an honest answer if asking the charity itself feels too scary. Now, the other option is by using zero waste sites and apps, such as Olio, for example, to give items direct to others that you know, because they've come for it, that they genuinely want that item. And that can remove a lot of the worry and guesswork once you've given something away. You're kind of cutting out the middleman of the charity shop and giving it direct to somebody who wants it. And that can feel like a really good win for you. One way I find clients working with this worry, though, is actually the wrong way. And that's by many clients work around it by giving items to friends or family. It feels like it's going to a good home, but also I think psychologically it doesn't feel like it's totally left you. It's kind of like you've given it out on an extended loan. Now, that can cause problems when they let it go. It can feel like a betrayal, or that you should never have given it to them in the first place if they weren't going to keep it. Now, in both of those circumstances, whether you take something to charity or whether you give it to a friend, what I want to say to you, and is the reason for this podcast episode, is once something has left your possession, then what happens to it is none of your concern. You just have to trust that all is okay and you've played your part in the whole world of reusing and recycling and being green and friendly. You have played your part by letting it go in the first place, because a decluttered home is a mindful home. Once you have decluttered your home, you have far less waste, you have far less things to worry about, basically. Now, you've all heard the saying that one man's trash is another man's treasure. And I think that is really important to know that really, really is the case, as long as it's not literal trash, although that still can be too. Those old magazines that you never got around to reading that are way out of date. Honestly, I'm sure your GP surgery or sheltered accommodation will love them. Or even your local infant school for doing collages or making paper mache, they will find a home. Those old medical books, the information's gone out of date. Someone could be researching past historical advice, or the information is still better than nothing. For example, if books are sent abroad where they don't have any information and don't have access to the internet, for example, there will still be information in that. So I always say I learned to do CPR when I was 15, and I would still use that CPR now. Now, times have changed. The way CPR works has now changed. So when I learned, it was 15 compressions and then 2 breaths. Now I believe that the advice is you don't do 2 breaths. However, if I was doing CPR and I forgot and did 2 breaths, let's face it, I'm still doing CPR. I'm still saving a life. That information in that book from when I was 15, for example, could still save a life if someone had got no information about how they now do CPR. So you really don't know just how useful something could still be. So I want you to stop looking at the possible negatives once an item is donated, and really stop trying to guess it. And really remember, once something's left you, it is none of your concern. It is a little bit like an ex-partner. They're an ex for a reason, and who they then see is genuinely none of your business, but it's okay because you're better off without them. And on that note, I'm going to leave you. So until next time, please be kind to yourself. Remember, you're not alone, and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour. Hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.